Question 5, 2022, a survey on remote learning was carried out on a random sample of 400 students. N is equal to 400. 135 of the students preferred remote learning. 135 over 400 preferred remote learning, which leaves 265 out of 400 preferring in-person learning, thankfully. For parts A, 1, 2 and 3, give all solutions as decimals, correct to 4 dp. And part 1, work out the proportion of the sample that preferred remote learning. This is in person. So this on a calculator is 0.3375, which means this would have to be 6625. It's both of them. Use margin of error, and they've given you the margin of error. You don't even have to look it up. It is 2022 after all. To create a 95% confidence interval for the proportion of the population that preferred remote learning. So we're dealing with this one here. So what can we say about margin of error? 1 over the square root of 400, is it? 400, just double check. That's 1 over 20. Which is a nice 0.05. So we, from our sample, had 3375. We have to add and subtract 0.05. So with my 3375 in the middle, on the top end, I'm going to get 3875. And on this end, I'm going to get 2875. Just taking 5 away, so that one works out nicely. So I would write it as P for proportion will be between these two numbers, 2875, so 28.75%. and 38.75%, we can say with 95% confidence, would prefer remote learning. We're asked to use the proportion from A part 1, this 0.3375 for my P. 1 minus P we're going to need. We've already gotten it. It's going to be 0.6625. You're asked to create a confidence interval that's more accurate than the one we've done. So margin of error is just a kind of a good estimate, but this is more accurate. If we multiply 1.96 by the square root of P times 1 minus P, you're so well prepared for the exam. You know this off by heart, but write it out. So let's work this out first. What is 1.96 times the square root of the proportion that we got, which was 3375? We'd have to multiply that by 6625. If you've practiced a lot of these, this just comes as second nature, and the sample is still 400. So 5% was our margin of error the last time. This is giving me 0. We were told 4 decimal places earlier, so I'll write 0.4634. I'll just take 0.0463, so not far off 5%, but it's more accurate. So if I add this to 3375, I can say, I'll call it my proportion this time is going to be between two numbers, 0.3375 plus 0.0463 and 0.3375 minus 0.0463. Take your time writing all these down and then put them into your calculator. I'm getting 38. And on the other side, I'm getting 2912. 2912 rounded off. So this is my proportion that's more accurate than the previous one. Part B of this question. In 2019, with a prepaid mobile phone plan, spent an average of 20.79 on their mobile phone each month from Comreg. In 2021, some students carried out a survey to see if this figure had changed. Sample of 500. Just write down n equals 500. They found that the mean was 2216, so a little bit higher, and standard deviation was 812. Carry out a hypothesis test, 5% level of significance, to see if there's any change here. So what can we say here? Well, we can say here that the mean hasn't changed. I think that's always the easiest. Mean is still equal to €20.79. The alternate hypothesis, the mean has changed. Now, not equal to 20.75, just to show the examiner exactly what you mean. Our calculations that we use here, we're going to use x bar minus mu divided by sigma over root n. So we can either we can get the minus or positive version. I like the positive version here. Which one's bigger? 2216. We can test 2216 against the original of 2079. So we're saying that is the mean. And if we divide that by sigma 812 over the square root of 500, we will get this to be quite a big number, 3.77. So for my 95% confidence interval, for it not to have changed, this answer has to be between plus or minus 1.96 for it to be still within inside these two standard deviations. So you can expand on that a little bit, but as Z score, which is what we've calculated here, an adjusted Z score is greater than 1.96, we reject the null hypothesis, which all the conclusions are down a little bit further, but we reject the null hypothesis or hypo. Therefore, we can say the mean spend has changed on mobile phone. Of course it has, as things have gotten more expensive.